Afternoon. My name is Christy Scheffler, and I'm part of the team of the National ECE Workforce Center. We're really excited to join you today for this coffee chat. And today we're following up on the recent webinar and chatting about the ECE Systems Change Framework tools. Our center is supported by a grant from the Administration for Children and Families. However, while ACF is the source of the center's funding, we don't necessarily reflect the views or opinions of ACF. And the National ECE Workforce Center is a joint research and technical assistance center, and we support state and local leaders to drive change in ECE workforce policy in order to improve educator compensation, career pathways, and working conditions. We use a research to practice model and ground our supports in our ECE systems change framework. And we'd also like to get a better sense of who you are. If you could please enter your name, your state, and your role. So thinking researcher, state agency system leader, or policymaker, IHE partner, an advocate, your role in your ECE system. If you could pop that in the chat, that would be fantastic. And as you're doing that, I'll just center us that our time today is meant to be an informal conversation. We're hoping to talk with you together about this topic, these tools, and how they might be used in your state or community context. So questions and comments are welcome and encouraged. You can feel free to either raise your hand or enter comments in the chat, whatever you are more comfortable with. And I forgot to mention, you can turn on closed caption if you would like by clicking on the More button and then Show Captions. And our focus today is going to be on the ECE Systems Change Framework tools that our team shared in the recent webinar. These are the Change Framework Interactive Web Tool and the Change Framework Reflection Tool. And the center's co-director of research, Dr. Ann Douglas, is going to kick us off by helping us kind of explore these tools together.
Thanks, Christy, and hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So I'm going to just walk through some of these tools a little bit, and it's a little refresher from the webinar if you got a chance to participate in the webinar. So as we described in that webinar, the center developed the Early Care and Education Workforce Systems Change Framework, and we introduced that framework in two formats. We have a downloadable PDF brief that includes information about how we developed the framework and the evidence that informed it. And then we have this new online interactive version of the framework that is a great way for you to explore the framework because you can click on different policy aims or goals. You can look at the drivers within them. You can click on those so you can kind of go to different levels of information. So you can click on those and you can read more about each one of them. And so you can access all of that, both the interactive version of the framework and the downloadable brief version at this QR code that you see here. And then we have a third resource, which is the Change Framework Reflection Tool. And that's a practical companion to the two introductory resources I just described. So the Reflection Tool helps groups or teams of change leaders go deeper and actually reflect on and assess their systems. So this tool helps groups to use that change framework, assess the status of their systems, and then to identify ways to improve workforce conditions and policies. It's a tool that enables you to examine each of the secondary drivers in that change framework to identify strengths, gaps, and feasible leverage points for making change. And that can inform goals and priorities for action. So that tool is structured just like the change framework around the practices drivers, infrastructure drivers, and principle drivers. So kind of those three parts of that systems change framework. And then the tool, as many of you I'm sure know, is structured to allow you to then reflect and assess on each of them. And you can choose, you can go to the next slide, you can choose from 4 options. So you can say, this driver is not present or is very weak in my current system, or this driver is somewhat present or is strong and functioning well, or if it's not applicable or you don't know anything about that part of your system, then you choose not applicable. So that's the structure of the assessment. And then on the next slide, it kind of highlights key features of the reflection tool. So it's, and I think this is probably the most important thing to kind of think about with regards to this particular tool, is that it's a collaborative tool. So while you can read the PDF introduction brief about the framework, or you can go to the interactive and click around and see different parts of it, this tool, the reflection tool, is for groups of people who are trying to make change. And so it's a collaborative tool that you use together. And that's because the questions that are in the change framework, in this assessment, cover a broad range of systems components, and input from multiple people who bring different perspectives or different roles or different experiences is essential to having a full view of what's happening in the system. We know that no single person can possibly hold all the insights needed to assess how a system is functioning. So the tool is a tool for dialogue and reflection, not just for assigning a score. And it's really meant to spark structured dialogue and reflection about system conditions. It's meant to facilitate those kinds of meaningful discussions among change leaders who bring diverse perspectives. And the tool has a notes section, and this is a really important part of the way the tool is designed. It helps create a place for groups to capture those reflections, insights, examples, and different perspectives that came up during the dialogue. And that synthesizing that can help with the collective thinking about the system and how to set priorities. So it builds a deeper shared understanding across stakeholders about where change is needed and how different strengths can be leveraged. It promotes that systems thinking approach because it gives you a chance to think about all the different parts of the system. And then it's a tool that's used obviously for reflection, but also for planning for action. It can help you to set priorities and goals and assess progress over time when you reflect on those, the dialogue that you've had. So in the reflection tool, we offer a set of 5 steps that groups can use or adapt to use this tool. So I'll very briefly just review what those are. So the first step is to be clear. You can go to the next slide. Be clear about what aim is you want to focus on. So the reflection tool is associated, there's a tool associated with each aim. So there's 3 versions of this. If you select more than one aim, so if you're working on compensation, you pick the tool that's aligned to the compensation area. If you select more than one aim, say you want to work on career pathways and the intersection with compensation, then you would select both of those 2 tools. The second step is designed, the tool is designed for the group that I described. So one thing to do is to think about, who do you want to bring together? Who should be having this conversation? And how do you think about the mix of voices who represent different parts of the system that you think are important to being part of that conversation? The third step is, once you have kind of assembled that group of people representing different parts of the system, then you can go ahead and have those conversations, assign ratings, record notes, and use that note section to really reflect the key themes and insights that came up during the conversations as you went through each section, the different perspectives and the reasons behind those perspectives. So if you have people who said something is fully present in this system and somebody else who said it's not present at all, those people likely represent different perspectives on the system. Why? What's the evidence, or what are they seeing from where they stand? And making note of that can help to refine how you think about what needs to be addressed, fixed, or built upon. And so keeping track of data or examples or people's experiences that are shared is important. And if there are unanswered questions, so parts of the assessment where you just don't know, that can point to areas where information is lacking and maybe you need different perspectives or some additional data. So once that's completed, in step 4, you have the ratings, you have that documentation of the different perspectives, and then you can start to identify goals and priorities. And we offer the questions you see here on the slide as kind of open-ended questions that can help take you from having those ratings and notes to turning that into a set of priorities and goals. And then the last step that we offer in this tool is to think about using the tool over time to reassess, reflect on progress, celebrate accomplishments, and identify some next areas. And again, this slide also offers a set of questions that you can use to facilitate that reflection. So I am going to turn it over to my colleague to take us from here.
And I think we actually are going to go ahead, since we have several people, to split into 2 breakout rooms so we can have some robust conversation. So Brianna is setting that up right now. So in just a moment, you'll see a note to enter your breakout room.
Yep, we have everyone set up and the facilitators assigned, so we can open those now.
Somehow I'm back. I'm supposed to be in breakout room 2. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Let's see if I can get you back in there.
Room 2, support your work.
Hi, Christy. I think everyone's back.
Sorry, I was on mute. All right. Are you able to shift to the next slide, Brianna? Oh, it's just our thank you slide. In our last couple of minutes together, we just wanted to thank you for attending today, and thank you to Anne and Brandy and Sandra and Kathy and Brianna and Shannon and the many people in our team here at the center who not only contributed to the tools, but the webinar and the coffee chat. And as a reminder, with some of the messaging that has gone out, while our remaining federal funds here at the center will only allow us to provide technical assistance and supports through April 30th, you will still be able to access all of the center tools and resources on our website that's listed here. And we hope that these products are supportive and help to improve conditions for years to come. And additionally, our team will be continuing as a collaborative. And if you're interested in receiving additional support, we encourage you to reach out to the email address listed here to discuss any cohort or individual state opportunities. It was lovely to hear from everyone. Thank you for Texas and Illinois for the conversation in the room that I was in. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.